Welcome to Igniting the Spark. I'm your host, Stephanie James. Listener, I'm so excited to have you here with us today. Wherever you are in the world, I invite you right now just to stop and pause. And as we do so often at the beginning of the show, just drop into your heart for a moment. Bring your awareness into your heart center. Take that nice deep breath into your heart. You might put your hand on your heart just to feel that resonance, feeling it at a physiological level. And knowing that as we take deep breaths into our heart, we bring our hearts and minds into a beautiful, coherent state, and we're able to relax. We're able to be in this present moment. And it's one of the beautiful ways that we really do connect with one another and with ourselves. So I have such a special treat for you today. I am so thrilled to have Dr. Donese Worden with me today. And Dr. Donese is an internationally recognized integrative physician, researcher, entrepreneur, and media host with more than 2 decades of experience transforming healthcare through science, innovation, and patient advocacy. She is widely known for her expertise in integrative cancer support, guiding patients through both conventional and metabolic therapies while helping them make informed, personalized treatment decisions. Such a joy to have you, Dr. Donese, here on the show. Welcome.
Welcome. And Stephanie, you know what? What you did at the beginning of this, that's it. That's everything. Nobody needs to listen to anything else because literally that gets into the parasympathetic state of how the body heals itself. That's the key. But we'll get into some science and some exciting things happening. But what you introduced into the show at the very beginning, that's the key. So that was
Uh,
beautiful. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I am in so much joy, Denise, just a presence with you. Your message and what you have to share, I just feel like every time I talk with you, this is like the leading edge, the cutting edge of really what we need to know to help ourselves heal. And I was wondering, one of the things as people are getting to know you on my show is just real briefly, if you can talk about this career shift you had, that you had this career shift from being very well known and a big television career into medicine.
Well, and you've had a similar pathway there, right? Is that and when you're in media, you're reporting on things that you think people will want to hear or your news director wants to hear. And my very first story, I was a young reporter before I became an anchor and had my own talk shows. I was a reporter. I came in with my very first story, and it was on acid rain. Now, that tells how long ago that was, but it was new. It came in on the AP, and I did this story. I went to the local paper mill and asked some scientists there, was it real? What's it about? How's it going to affect our bodies? I was so proud of that story. And I got called into the news director's office, and he said, "We can't run it." And I said, "Why not? And is there something wrong? Do I need to add B-roll? What is it? Tell me, teach me." He says, "No, it's because our main sponsor is the paper mill. They have told us we cannot run that story. It would be detrimental to their business." And I thought this was the news station, that we're supposed to be unbiased, non-particular, and that has gone through to today. So I was disheartened. I stayed in it for a while. I did reports, but it was lacking. It's like, what is it that people really need to hear? And is this the full truth to everything? But it was always jaded, still is. So now, going into medicine and into research, becoming a researcher and doing this, that was in my bones from the beginning. Now I have the right story. Now I have the right information and getting it out to these different places like my Health Hot Seat show, that wherever that's going to land for its home, that debate format of hearing both sides of medicine at once, the podcast with Les Brown, whatever it is. I've got a monthly thing now that I do for people that say, they don't need to work with me one-on-one, or they can't for whatever reasons. But they can do that monthly. I jump on and educate. So it's about education. Long story short, Stephanie, That's why the transition. I liked news. I liked reporting. I love educating, and I like leading edge things. But you've got to be able to get to the truth of it, and that's my whole tagline: the truth in medicine. What do we know and what do we not know, which is just as important. What do we not know? And quit saying this is fact when it's not.
Yeah, that's
So,
so huge. This is so huge and so important, especially in this age of so much
oh,
misinformation.
oh,
And to get someone, that it feels like you're in our corner. It feels like, you are a human advocate and, a humanities advocate, I would say. And
yeah.
one of the things, Denise, I know about you that I love as well is that you have this beautiful blend of both science and spirituality. And can
Mhm.
you talk about how those are connected for you?
Well, I think, science is catching up to spirituality, things that we know, we feel, we know to be true. And whatever that spirituality means for the individual person, it's very personalized. I mean, you can belong to a religion and follow a set of ideas, and that gives a lot of people a lot of comfort and a lot of purpose. But then there's other people that say, "I don't wanna follow the rules. I wanna do my own thing and believe and feel my own thing." What I know from a medicine standpoint is that when a patient has a belief system, any belief system, and can connect to something outside of themselves to find this beautiful, relaxing state where the body can heal, they do far better, and I'm talking even my stage 4 considered terminal cancer patients. They do far better when they lose the fear of cancer and the fear of death, and that's this connection to spirituality that we're talking about. It drives our biology. It allows this human body to work and be better and do better. So I think we need to talk about more in medicine. It's always still a taboo. You don't ask that, but for 27 years in practice, from day one on my intake, I asked, do you have a spiritual practice? And I'm not asking about religion. I'm asking, do you feel connected to something outside of yourself? And I've done that for, well, now it's almost 28 years because I know who does better
That's right.
in the long run. Yeah.
That's right. Wow, it's so powerful and it's so important. And, because we are dealing so much right now with so much stress during,
Mhm.
this time, in particular time in our lives, what are you telling people, Denise, about what is important for them so they cannot be so stress filled?
Yeah, they need to remember the power of their own body. They need to know that their body was designed with everything it needs to heal, to detox, to do all these things. So the biohackers are some of the most stressed people I know. They're tracking everything. They've got a wearable for this or that. They're stressing over trying to be the perfect biohacker into all these things. And that stress is far more damaging than trying to get, all these markers up into areas. Now it's all great. I love data, but it's about balance. And the big message is your body's wise. And when you're in a relaxed state, that's when it can do all these wonderful things that it needs to do to be healthy. So the message is you've got what you need. Now, we may need other things. Yes, I mean, we've got environmental toxins. We don't have the nutrition in the food, all the things that everybody is hearing and knowing about. And there's truth in a lot of it, but there's a lot of misinformation as well. The most powerful medicine is right here. Your most powerful pharmacy is made by your body, the right dose, right time, no side effects, no contraindications with other things. It's the most beautiful, beautiful healing system, and we have it, but it can't work. And the mitochondria, which we might talk about in a minute, when that shuts down the motherboard, then it gets confused and it doesn't know what to do.
Well, and I know that you have guided so many people to that inner healing, if you will, through your 7 pillars of health. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure. It's just a fun, I teach that the best checkup you're ever going to have is the one that you do on yourself because we miss things on labs, in imaging, they're not perfect. A lot of these specialty tests that people are paying thousands of dollars for aren't reproducible, which means If you sent your same material, whether it's your bowel movement material, stool analysis, or blood or saliva, if you sent it out the same day to that same lab, it better come back looking like the same person. And I will tell you, a majority of them don't. So we're basing a lot of our health decisions on misrepresented material, labs, imaging, all that. So the 7 pillars I put together just to remind us that we're being given our body's giving us signals all the time when something isn't right. And people will go to their doctors and say, something's not right. I can feel it. And they'll say, well, your blood work's fine. See you next year. But the patient's going, but I know something isn't right. That's why you've got to find practitioners will continue to look for what's not right. So the 7 pillars are really just questions that you ask yourself about the main pillars, because these are the things that drive a healthy body or help your body get into, or I will say, drive your body into disease or dis-ease, right? So there's sleep, your body mechanism, not your weight, not that, but how's your body, physical body doing? Digestion, energy, your overall energy level, your mental, how is your brain doing, your thoughts, your relationships, because that's very important, and your purpose, which I'll say purpose slash spiritual sense, right? Those things. And when you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, it's kind of a fun exercise. I don't know if you want to get into it today, even a shortened version, but it's kind of fun for people to rate themselves on that and say, uh-oh, I'm not paying attention to that area and maybe I should. And then you choose one and start working on that. So do you want to do a little short version, or
Sure, I'm
you want to save it
totally
for
open.
another
Love
one?
it.
All
Let's
right,
do
all
it.
right.
We're on it.
Let's do it. So let's do a quick little version. I mean, there's a lot of material that could be here and things to do to get better, but let's just rate ourselves. So listeners, get a pen and paper or get your phone out. You're going to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Let's start with sleep. Write down sleep. So it's about not just how much sleep you're getting. It's not about the number of hours. It's really the quality of the hours, the number of REM, deep sleep. You can know some of those things with the wearable. However, the wearables aren't that accurate. They're pretty accurate for HRV and other things, but for sleep, not so much, especially for women. In fact, they're going back to the drawing board trying to figure this out because they know that women are waking up and the readiness score is saying, you got a low readiness score. And the woman says, but I feel good. I was ready to go to the gym. I was really feeling great, but my readiness score is low. So maybe and it immediately gets in the head. I'm not in good shape to go do these things. And it's probably the inaccuracy of the wearable itself. So if you're rate yourself a 1, if you can't get to sleep, you have trouble going to sleep and you can't stay asleep, you're waking up. That's a double whammy bad. There's a lot of detail here, and I just did on my Truth in Medicine monthly, we did a whole deep dive on sleep. Fascinating, amazing things, your chronobiology, things that you can look into that can really help your sleep. But a 10 is you wake up ready to go. You've had, 7 or 8 hours of sleep, and it's restorative. You have energy throughout your day. Throughout your day, you start slowing down at night. You gently go to sleep easily. That's a 10. Okay. Next one is your body. I'm not talking about your weight and your physique. It's not a stat. I'm saying, are you happy with it? There are thin, soft, skinny people, and there are what's considered overweight people that are really pretty healthy. So it's how do you feel? How do you look? Now, if you look in the mirror and you want to look like a supermodel and you're not built like that, that's not going to happen. But you say, for me, how I'm built, how am I doing? One is kind of weak and flabby, no matter where your size is. You just feel weak and flabby, and you really don't like looking in the mirror. You're going, I can do better. A 10 is you love your body, there's no aches and pains, it's working well, and you are taking good care of it. You're getting to the gym, you're doing your steps, you're doing interval training, whatever is the best program for you. And those are main ones that I just talked about. Are you doing it? Are you spending the time to take care of your body? Next one is digestion. Let's talk about the best way to know about digestion. I mean, obviously, tummy aches, this and that, but you got to look at your bowel movements. You have to look at them because there's a lot of information there of what did and didn't happen in your digestive system as it was going through. So a normal bowel movement is from your wrist to your elbow, pretty long. It's about as medium, the size of your wrist. In the middle of the log, it should be about that big around. It should be easily passed, not strain, not push, not diarrhea, but easily passed log, formed into a log that doesn't smell bad, and it's a medium brown color. That's a normal bowel movement. So if you've got a, stinky poo, you're like, "Woo, that was really," you're not digesting, breaking down your food. If they're shorter, if they're thinner, if you've got little rabbit pellets, if it's not formed up, that's a problem. There's a microbiome or it could be a lot of things, but you've got to find the root of the problem, what's causing it. That's the issue, but that's a 1. And every 10 would be, every day when you start looking, you look back and say, "Wow, I wish I could show somebody because that's amazing. How did that come out of me?" And it was easy, all that stuff. And you look back and go, "Wow." So that's the way it should be. And I know that that is a funny thing. And some people go, "I don't look." And I say, "Well, you need to start. We can do a stool analysis, and that's going to tell me a lot of things. But the best is in this, especially this self questionnaire, take a look. You need to know what's happening there. And it should be every day that we've got that proud bowel movement. Next is energy. That's really overall. You're ready to go in the morning without your coffee. You're not supposed to drink your coffee until you're up for an hour anyway. How do you feel when you get up? You've got energy. You're not crashing in the afternoon. You're going all day and you're going, "This is great. I feel good." A 1 is you're waking up tired. And then you can't get to sleep at night. You're wired and tired. You're exhausted. And you're panicking like, "I need to get some sleep," but you can't turn the brain off. That's wired and tired. That's really an issue with cortisol and other things, and that has to be figured out and worked on, because, energy is another rate of how well your sleep is doing. But a 10 is, and I always tell the story about my dad. He's 90, almost 94 now, and he's going to the gym and working out, and he dances most nights, and what does he else does he do? He, lifts weights, and he only plays 18 holes of golf. That's the way we're supposed to age. So when people say, "Oh, I've got a little less energy, I'm aging," I'm going, no, no." Age is not an excuse. We might slow down a little bit, but not a lot. He got caught skinny dipping at 91 years old. They forgot to go. He and the woman of the time, they went to a spring, a natural spring. She forgot her swimsuit. And they were saying, "Oh, we spent all this money. Da, da, da. We'll wait till everybody goes to sleep." Long story short, they got in the hot spring. They got hot. They laid down and they went to sleep and they got caught. But of course, they were the heroes of the place because they actually look good for their ages. But they got caught skinny dipping, and at night, late at night, right? So that's good energy.
That's right. I love that. I love that.
So mental state is your clarity and cognition. It's not just, "Oh, I forget words once in a while," or that. You're starting to really notice you're having trouble finding that word retrieval, it's called. It's like, "Oh, you know what that word is. It's right there, but you can't recall it." Your short term, your long term memory. Are you wiring and firing? Are you able to take information and go, "I know what to do with this"? And we know what our normal is and how far away are we from that. And sometimes it's just a matter of poor sleep, sometimes poor nutrition. It can be other things that we would like to know about, neuroinflammation, other things. So, if you're really noticing a pretty fast progression in those things becoming problems, you should rate yourself a 1 or 2 and figure out why. Why? Is it brain inflammation? What is it? You could get an ApoE44 test if you have Alzheimer's in your family, and you could say, "Do you have that gene and you have family history? Then you need to get on the bandwagon of mitochondrial health now," right? And it would be, instead of sitting there worried, going, "Well, I'm going to go through it," you're the caretaker for your family right now, which is the worst stress, one of the worst stresses you can go through as a caretaker, but you're thinking, "Well, it's just doomed, I'm gonna be there." No, we have a lot of things showing up that we think we're gonna be able to help. So a 10 is really, hearing information and remembering quite a bit of this. I would say go back to the pillars I just mentioned without looking at your sheet. How many can you remember, right? That what I just talked about. The last 2, relationships, very important. Do you have a strong support system? If you don't have family, friends, colleagues at work, and you're not having intimacy, and that can be with your partner, it can be with your significant other, it can be with yourself. Intimacy is an important part. We are sexual beings, and we need to be not forgetting about that piece and going, I'm too old. I don't care. No, no. Again, no excuses. So that's looking at relationships from a sexual standpoint, but also strong support system, which is very, very important by all the research out there. A 1 is you're missing all of that, and a 10 is you've got great tribe around you, people around you, supportive, and you're having great sex. That's just black and white. That's it, at least a few times a week at minimum. The last one is I used to call it spirituality, and it triggered a few people, and then we'd have to go down the whole, is it religion, spirituality? I'm still gonna call it that, but let's just say purpose for now. What are you passionate about right now in your life? Do you have something that you're passionate about? I'm not talking about your grandkids and all the stuff. Something outside of yourself that you are involved in. And spiritually, do you feel connected? Can you feel a deep sense of gratitude and serenity? So when life is coming at you and you've got all this stress, all these things, you're like, wait a minute, like the breath work that you did at the beginning. Do you have the ability to take some breath, listen to music, some kind of process, meditation where you can say, I can shut it all out. I can connect to the beyond and feel it's all going to be okay. And that's a 10. And that's the ability to feel that sense of peace no matter what is going on in your life. So I would say look back at your scores, look at your lowest one, and there's a lot of great things that you can try for each one of those, but do something. Don't ignore it. And don't think that it's going to show up on your next lab work or even specialty test or even imaging. Listen to your body. It's sending you signals when something isn't right. And trust it.
Yeah, this is
So that's the
powerful.
7 pillars. Yeah.
This is powerful. And I was doing it myself, and then
Yeah.
at the end, I took all the scores together and divided them by 7,
That's good. Yes.
and I said, "Okay, so I'm living at a 8.8,
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's
which is
really
pretty
good,
good."
Stephanie. Uh-huh.
And I could see where, I had the places. Part of mine is digestion,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and going
yeah.
like, "Okay, I need to now thank you so much for this because 'cause I'm like, "That's the area that I need to
That's the area you wanna
focus
pay
on."
attention to right now.
That's right.
You don't wanna get overwhelmed and for those listeners that have their scores in the 4s and 5s, don't panic. Choose your lowest score and start working on one at a time and raise those scores because the body does know how to repair and heal. Stephanie, you're just a superstar at 8.5, right?
Thank you. But, and we can all go up and down on these scores, right? I mean, I
Oh,
think
absolutely.
that's why this is such a beautiful tool. We can come back to this, and I love this. This could be a weekly or a monthly check-in.
That's exactly right. I tell people we really should check in once a week but if you say digestion this week has been bad and you look at, oh, it's because the mother-in-law came in. Well, you know why it was bad. It's situational. It'll get better. Don't worry about it. Go to the ones that have been sitting there bad for a while, you know?
Exactly, exactly. Well, and this is so beautiful. Now, I have a kind of out of the blue question here.
Okay.
When we were going over all the pillars of health, I was thinking about one of the things I hear so much about, Donese, is this intermittent fasting.
Yes.
And that for women,
Yep.
like myself, postmenopausal,
Yep.
how important that is. And I really want, I know that your opinion on this is gonna really weigh important for me. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts around that?
Right. In our mitochondrial world of metabolic therapies for cancer, for neurodegenerative, for any chronic degenerative disease, heart disease, you name it, it's all mitochondrial driven. So we know that intermittent fasting done in a certain way for a particular person and sex and age can be absolutely phenomenal. It helps lengthen your telomeres. You're going to live longer. Great things can happen. But now what do? We go to the extreme. People start doing longer time periods and they say, oh, more is better. It is not, especially for women in postmenopausal, because we've got hormones. And so we're very different. So I would say in general, if you're looking for cardiovascular health, it's called a 5-2. That means 5 days of the week, you eat your normal diet, maybe in a shortened time period a little bit, but not a lot. But 2 days a week, you decrease the calories by 25%. If you're working on heart, if you're working on something else, you do a different type of fasting. That's why you've got to just not listen to influencers out there. You got to get with doctors who really understand it and look at you as a person. Where are your pillars? Do you have hormone issues right now? We need to be careful in the way that we do intermittent fasting. And as with anything, more is not better. It's the right timing and the right dosage for supplements, intermittent fasting, interval training, exercise. I'm very specific. I get a patient in front of me and they could have the same disease coming in, but this person got a very different recommendation than this person. It has to be personalized. But in general, intermittent fasting is a great tool if done correctly.
Yeah, and I love you sharing this information because I think that that's one of the things that we get into trouble with is this information that is like one size fits
That's
all.
right. There's no such thi That's right. That's right. And with our cancer patients, we really do. We take them into ketosis as deep as we can because it's life-threatening disease, and we have to go hard and fast at things. Um, but for general health, for staying healthy, being healthy, we do not have to be as tight on the reins, but knowing that the same things that we're doing with the cancer patients are the same recommendations that are being, offered to the Navy SEALs and the NASA astronauts. They're all mitochondrial support, so they're keeping us healthy, helping us be healthier, and helping fight these chronic degenerative diseases. So they're along the lines of some of the same therapies, pillars of therapies, but how they're done is very individualized or should be.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like that is so essential, and thank
Yeah,
you for answering that. Um, one of the things too that when I reading through your material that strikes me is something that you said that is your DNA is not your destiny.
correct,
Can you
correct.
speak about that?
Yeah, our DNA, we get from mother and father. It's in the cell. That cell was made up of DNA from mom and dad, and it's a blueprint. It's sitting there, right? But what we know that epigenetics, environment, stress, food, and all that is changes how those cells express. So you might have a bad gene, but it may not be turned on and it may can be able to be quieted with the right kinds of therapies and lifestyles. So we can manipulate we can't change well, we can change the DNA. I just came from a big conference where we're doing gene editing, we're doing all kinds of things that really ethically is getting very scary. We can do artificial uteruses to grow babies. We can do I mean, it's so we're gonna have ethical things to think about going forward, but the point is that we used to say we can't manipulate the DNA, now we can. But for the general public, for a while, we can't. What we can do is quiet the bad genes and help the good genes be more expressive, and that is by targeting the mitochondria. Those little they're structures inside every single cell you have. And the mitochondria take the nutrients that you eat and the oxygen that you breathe and the light that you're exposed to turn it into we remember in the school that it was ATP energy, but they're far, far more than that. They decide how the energy is used, where it's going to go, where it's directed, and whether your cell survives or it should die. Apoptosis is get rid of the bad ones before they cause problems, or whether it adapts. It is really your central motherboard is the mitochondria, and that's where our research, and I hope you'll ask me about this nonprofit in a minute, but they also they're not just energy producers, they are stress sensors. They're the little things that say, is this person stressing? Do I need to shut off all the repair so that they can run from the bear and survive? They're directing this. They're the repair coordinators. Is it time to repair or not? They are literally the decision makers for the cells. And so we've got to know that the more we learn about mitochondrial health, the better we're going to get at being healthy. And that's what our group is all about.
Well, and this is one of the things, Dr. Donese and I, we were talking at the beginning of the show before we started recording that, listeners, this is going to be just part one of a two-part conversation because I'm going to have Dr. Donese back and we are going to do a deep dive into the mitochondria. And
Love
this
it.
is just so exciting. This area is absolutely thrilling, absolutely
Yeah.
cutting edge. Cannot wait to dive deep. But I am very curious about what is happening with your nonprofit. Share with us
Yeah.
what's happening.
So we are forming it. I'm the COO of it. Our president is Dr. Tom Seafried, that has really been the catapult to get the mitochondrial. It's called the metabolic theory of cancer, that only 5 to 10% of cancers are genetically driven or have genes as part of their issue, right? The other is this mitochondrial damage that we're talking about. And he brought this back out of his lab, still doing the major research out of Boston College. Now we have researchers, mitochondrial researchers like I'm going to forget Isabella's last name. But anyway, she's a great researcher out of Cambridge University. We've got Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, funded by the Department of Defense to help our super soldiers be healthier and stronger and faster. And we've got China, India, I could go on, South America. We have the top researchers and clinicians, physicians that work with metabolic health, especially in cancer. This group is particularly focused on cancer, even though metabolic psychiatry is huge right now, and how it affects the brain. So the things that we're discovering and working on apply through all diseases. But we're calling it I came up with the name the More Foundation. We need more research, we need more, but it stands for Metabolic Oncology Research and Education. That's what the nonprofit is about. We are funding research in these different labs across the world doing this research and education, educating people in mitochondrial health and what you can be doing right now that can help you live a longer, healthier life. So we're excited about it. It's called the More Alliance. We haven't launched it yet. The website's this close, but it's coming, and I'm excited about it. It's a lot of work, but it needed to be done, and I'm just excited and appreciative to be in the group. We have a paper that most of us in the alliance now were part of. We were authors on a paper, a landmark paper in the British Journal of Medicine, in a very respected journal about glioblastoma, which that's the worst, fastest cancer that you can have. And we talked about the science behind metabolic therapies for that. So we're on the ground doing it, and we're working with patients with it, and it's exciting because I feel that we'll make a lot more inroads to help a lot more people the more science and research we can do in the mitochondrial health.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
guess what damages one of the things that damages mitochondria? It's not just environmental toxins, all the stuff that we all know about. It's stress. It's stress. And stress feeds cancer. We've got glutamate and glutamine. Your food, yes, sugar feeds cancer, but even if you had no sugar and you completely fasted, you can still be feeding it because stress feeds the other pathway. So we have to work on all of it when we're trying to block cancer growth or help neurons in the brain get better. So I'm excited. There's a lot of research starting, and we have funding from some great family foundations that are willing to give us money. So we're excited. We're going to do more and more.
Yeah, this is absolutely thrilling. I mean, how inspiring, how exciting. it's just like this whole new era, as I feel like we are
Yeah,
in this place where we are ushering in this new era of consciousness and
that's right.
expansion of these kind of discoveries. So,
That's right. And we've got to not be afraid to say, okay, here's the standard of care. This is how we're treating now chemo, radiation, surgery. There's a time and a place, and we work with those therapies sometimes and in fact most of the time, but for individual. But we have got to say, why have we not moved the needle on cancer? Why has it not really gotten better? Maybe we're studying the wrong thing. And that's a big, huge stone to pull up the hill because it's a billion dollar businesses, right? Around this standard of care. So we've got a very big a thing that we have to prove, but the way we're going to be able to do it is with research. We can't just say, wait a minute, look at these pathways. We should be looking at that. We've got to do the research. And that's why we've bonded together to say, let's go for it. And
yep,
let's see, can we help in a better way?
yep.
And so to your point, the consciousness for everything. Don't be afraid. I have a talk that I call it's called Dare to Doubt. You do not have to have a stethoscope on your neck. You don't have to have a diploma on the wall to say that doesn't sound right. Let me question that. Whether it's politics, whether whatever it is, medicine. Dare to doubt. Be kind about it, but don't be afraid to question and certainly don't be afraid to be a trailblazer and start looking in different ways of looking at things, and that's what we're doing on that metabolic side.
And that is one of the things I've always loved about your messages and in speaking with you, Donese, is that, that dare to doubt and that, like you said, our healing, our wisdom, we
Right,
really have that inner healing self. We really have that inner wisdom. So it's really
that's right,
tapping in. It's like, yes, all these things that you have to offer, brilliant, wonderful, and noticing where is our alignment?
right.
Is this prognosis or is this information in alignment with my
That's right,
inner
that's
self.
right.
Yeah.
And just remembering and believing in the power of your body. It's amazing. It's amazing. Don't forget, And I have stage 4 terminal cancer patients coming, and they're still in the fight. We're taught in medicine, don't give false hope. No, that's correct. You don't wanna take advantage of people for whatever reasons. It's not, but I do know this, the minute you take away hope, the last breath is around the corner very soon because the minute they've lost hope. So even if we have stage 4 patients alive many, 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 many years later and still living in good health. So it's possible. So I tell patients, anyone who says they're going to cure your cancer, you should run the other way. But anyone who says, I will try to help your body and your therapies, select the best therapies, and help your body work with this disease the best that we can and keep hope that it is possible, that's where I come from. And, I can get pushback from allopathic colleagues. Oh, that's false hope. And I say, no, I think we are taking away hope. We need to give more hope to people because I know what's happened the minute that we say, well, we've done everything. And sometimes the patient gets to that point, Stephanie, they know and they say, I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah.
And that's great. Then I say, how do we go through this transition and support you in that? I've walked many patients over the years and their families especially, to make that into a beautiful process instead of a dramatic, horrible, a process that should be beautiful and spiritual. But, it's those courageous souls that say, I'm ready now. Okay. Had a good life. I'm ready. I've said what I need to say to everybody. Then we say, how do we transition that in the easiest way possible so no one is suffering?
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, Denise, first of all, again, I can't wait to continue this conversation. There's so much more. We've
The
barely
mitochondria is so
scratched
fun.
the
It
surface.
really is fun.
I cannot wait. I can't wait to dive into that. And how can people find out more about you? How can they find out about being part of your monthly group?
Yeah, I mean, just go to my website, the Dr. Worden, DrWorden.com. I think we've got something up there. We're still working on the pages and all that stuff, but you can sign up there. There's 2 different groups, Stephanie. One is specific for cancer patients, so the information I'm bringing, the leading edge information, and they can ask questions. That is specifically cancer, and then for everybody else, it's called Elevated Health, and what I'm trying to do is keep you out of the quagmire of all the misinformation out there, keep you leading edge information, but get you out of listening over here to biohacking things that could be actually dangerous at worst and, and costly and not needed or not even, I would say at this point can't be making claims on it. So we're having a good time with it. We've had 2 so far. I've been asked for years to do it, and finally I said I've got to do it, and did it. And it's just a lot of we're getting through a lot of information, and people are really enjoying it. So yeah, I'd love to have anybody that wants to be part of it. Just look and find it. And I'm on YouTube and all that other stuff, but I don't do as much as I should. But I'm too busy doing research and running the nonprofit and seeing patients. But I'll do more of that coming up, but right now, Truth in Medicine is the way to get a hold of me.
Beautiful. And we're going to have links for that, everyone, in the show notes. So please go there so you can connect with Dr. Donese. And thank you so much. I mean, as always, such a joy. Like my favorite conversations. I mean, just
Well,
love this time with you. Thank you.
and likewise, it's not often that you get a podcast going and the host starts it with deeper breath, consciousness, getting them into the mind and heart space to be able to hear all this information. It was beautiful. Thank you for the work that you're doing, Stephanie.
Well, thank you. And as we're ending, Donese, what would you say is your essential message for listeners today?
Finding sources that you can trust. My whole thing is about the truth in medicine. Who is it? Might be several people. I mean, we just lost some leaders in the integrative medicine trust field. It wasn't because their messaging was off, it was because of affiliations that they had. And so people lost trust. And where's the integrity there, right? So finding a tribe, which includes healthcare, medicine. Who are the people that you want to listen to? Because you could scroll and hear a bunch of stuff and get yourself really worked up and upset. Like you were saying, what about women with intermittent fasting? It's correct. It's a correct. We've got to be careful and do it right. Find your tribe. Find the people that you trust in those areas from spirituality to consciousness, whatever it is, and be part of the tribe, be active, get involved with it and know that everything's right here that we need. Well, here in our body and outside of our body. Some of the best information's out here, but we can drive this body by that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Dr. Donese, thank you. Thank you for sharing your light, your wisdom, and your knowledge with all of us.
Thank you, Stephanie.